Kia ora team and welcome to our sixth video in Achievement Standard 91502 where we're continuing to look at violence in sport, and further to our last video we're looking at other causes of violence in sport outside of the media that we explored in the last video. So the learning outcome for today is to understand and describe a range of other factors identified by Jamison and Orr that cause or contribute to violence in sport. First one we're going to look at is pressure. Now, sport requires a lot of effort to participate in and can at times exert different types of pressure on those participating in it. You'd think that these pressures are more pronounced at, say, the professional level as opposed to grassroots sport, but you'd be surprised at what pressures social, competitive, and even elite athletes experience. Jamison and Orr explained that the addition of adult role models such as parents, coaches, and sporting leaders contribute to these pressures to make the perfect storm of undue or unwanted pressure. An interesting point identified by Stan Checkwich in 2008 was that parents of middle and upper income families are prone to put too much pressure on kids to perform or excel in sport. This slide considers what a typical day might look like for a competitive high school athlete training twice a day. This could be a swimmer, for example, doing 2 sessions a day, or say a team athlete who might have a team training session and, for example, a strength workout at some point during the day. If you're fitting in 2 sessions a day, most likely one of these are going to have to be in the morning. For most people, this would mean a 5:30 AM wake up for around about a 6 AM training. Not many young people have their own cars these days, so mum and dad are going to have to be involved in your transport at some point or another. You also have to consider how you'll be getting from training to school. Are you going to head home for breakfast and a shower, or will you head straight to school? If you're going straight to school, are you close enough to walk or catch the bus, or are you going to need to call on your parents again to assist with that transport? Once you're at school, the next big demands of your day begin. Schooling and education is one of the biggest priorities in your first 18 years of life. You need to ensure that you're prepared and ready to learn. This means eating enough, being refreshed, and having the required equipment and gear to be successful throughout your day. A school day could be full of classes, assessments, cultural activities, and many other tasks requiring your full attention. After school will often be the second training period. This could be a team training, it could be an individual training, it could be at school, it could be outside of school. But that's when you're most likely to fit in that second training session. Getting home for the night may or may not require the assistance of your parents again, but it's important that you get home in time to replenish and catch up with your family. If school does feature in your list of priorities, which of course it should, then an hour or so of homework will need to occur at some point during your evening. Your well-being or your hauora is also a priority that you need to have, and you cannot afford to neglect other dimensions outside of your physical well-being within that hauora. So relaxing, chilling out, gaming, catching up with friends online, or however you choose to do it can be a great way to unwind from the day and ensure you're really thinking about those other factors or dimensions of your well-being. Finally, you need to get to bed at an early enough hour to repeat the schedule for tomorrow. Athletes aren't the only ones under pressure though. To make all of this happen for their children, parents have to step up. They're required to transport their young ones back and forth day after day. They're responsible for food as well. They need to ensure that their children get enough food to eat, often with special dietary requirements depending on the sport they participate in. And of course, someone needs to pay for all of this to happen. When I consider my participation in secondary school sport, my parents had to pay for fees, uniforms, transport, and multiple trips per year. A conservative estimate put those costs at around $2,000 to $2,500 per year when you factor in, say, 2 sports and regional or national representation. Over a 5-year span, that comes to over $12,000. This price can be even more if you play a sport such as hockey, or if you're good enough to continually make national A-grade teams. I say hockey because they have the expense requirements of that sport are quite significant compared to some other sports. So when your family commits this much to your involvement in sport, or when you experience success, the remainder of your family can often be held hostage to these schedules. The structure of sport is identified by Jamison Orr as the most important causal factor giving rise to violence in sport. Sport structure takes into consideration the infrastructure or inner workings of the specific sporting code. Quality planning of facilities and programs for sport delivery describes how the facilities and programs to deliver the sport have been planned from the ground up. Has a philosophy, mission statement, or strategic plan been put in place to ensure the needs of the participants are being met at every level? Quality of regulatory structures is about the rules, codes of conduct, and program development. Is the environment safe and welcoming for all parties involved? Quality of financial support talks about how funding can allow for adequate supervision, officiating, coaching, and coach or player education. Have these aspects been considered, or is it a bare bones outfit that provides very little for its participants? A good example here might be considering the funding involved with, say, the All Blacks versus the New Zealand American football team. How do you think the funding difference would affect speech factors, in turn influencing the potential for violence in sport? Quality of professional preparation and certification of individuals considers how codes ensure that qualified coaches and administrators are put in front of our participants. Are coaches being supported through education so they are better prepared for the role? Are they police vetted? Are our participants safe? Quality of evaluation mechanisms is about ensuring that codes are reflective to ensure that their goals are being met. It also helps to check whether they are finding solutions to any issues, and as a sport they are continuing to move forward. Participants are given a voice, improving the delivery of the programs year after year. And finally, quality of participation outcomes asks whether the participants are enjoying themselves and having positive experience. Are participants having positive outcomes through their involvement in the program or not? Each of these factors indicate a strong sporting structure that ensures participants enjoy the sport they are involved in and are provided a way to progress their skill and involvement, as well as enter and exit the sport as they please without undue influence. Coach aggression is the next factor, or the third factor identified by Jamison and Orr that we are going to take a look at. Adult volunteers comprise the majority of leadership roles in sports such as coaches, managers, and administrators, the most influential of these roles being the coach. Jamison and Orr note that parents operate as the key role model and influence in a child's formative years. However, when school begins, students are introduced to their next series of role models. These are the teachers, coaches, and other leaders that they're exposed to in their educational years. The majority of time, these new role models and influences form positive bonds that are healthy and enduring, but for a range of factors can occasionally become soured. One of the problems is that coaches and other volunteers in sport are not held to the same standards qualified teachers are expected to meet. Often they are inexperienced, having never coached before, and are just doing it because no one else wanted to. If we don't ensure these coaches are given the training, development, and supervision they require, they can sometimes succumb to the stresses and strains that coaching can bring. Not only are you dealing with the rigors of off-season and in-season preparation, planning and competition, but they also have to deal with and interact with parents and other family members. Poor management of these key leaders in sport can create a negative environment causing stress, frustration, anger and aggression, and ultimately violence against players, parents, referees, opponents and administrators. So, to summarise, we looked at the 3 other issues identified by Jamieson and Orr relating to how violence in sport can be caused, and these were pressure, sporting structure, and coach aggression. Complete your whisk sheet. I think there is a lot to think about within this theme that we looked at in this video, which should allow you to create a really good question that you can share with your group and present in our next theory lesson. So please get onto those tasks. Cheers.